Have you ever wondered why the Jews were expelled from Medina in the 7th century? Let's delve into the pages of history to understand the events leading up to this significant expulsion. The city of Medina, then known as Yathrib, was a bustling hub of diverse tribes in the early 7th century. Amid this diversity, the Jewish tribes were quite influential, having settled in the region long before the advent of Islam. However, the political and social climate began to change with the arrival of Prophet Muhammad in 622, who sought refuge from persecution in Mecca. Muhammad's arrival marked the beginning of a new era in Medina. He established a constitution, known as the Constitution of Medina, which set the groundwork for a multi-religious Islamic state, with Jews and Muslims living under the same laws and protection. However, this seemingly harmonious coexistence was short-lived. The Jewish tribes, despite being part of the constitution, were often at odds with Muhammad's leadership. They were accused of violating the pact on several occasions, leading to strained relationships. The situation reached its peak when certain Jewish tribes were alleged to have conspired with the Meccan enemies to assassinate Prophet Muhammad, a claim that was met with severe consequences. The Banu Nadir and Banu Qurayza, two prominent Jewish tribes, were the main accused in this alleged plot. These accusations, whether true or not, resulted in the expulsion of the Banu Nadir tribe from Medina in 625, followed by the Banu Qurayza tribe in 627. This expulsion was not a random act of aggression, but a response to what was perceived as a betrayal of the social contract established by the Constitution of Medina. The expulsion of the Jews from Medina was a pivotal moment that forever altered the dynamics between the two religions. It marked the end of Jewish political power in Medina and set the stage for the subsequent rise of an exclusively Islamic state. Their expulsion marked a significant turning point in the history of Jewish-Muslim relations. As we navigate through history, it's essential to remember that these events are part of a larger narrative, shaping our understanding of the world today. But did you know that expulsion was not a phenomenon confined to Medina alone? This statement sets the stage for an exploration into the numerous expulsions of Jews from various European countries throughout history. Time and again, the Jewish population found itself at odds with the societies in which they lived. One of the most notable expulsions took place in England in the late 12th century. Accused of practicing usury and religious sacrilege, the Jews were considered a threat to Christian society, leading to their expulsion by King Edward I in 1290. Moving to the heart of Europe, we find another case of expulsion in France. The late 14th century saw the removal of Jews from French territory under Charles VI. The reasoning? Allegations of well poisoning and religious defamation. The pattern continues in Spain, where the infamous Alhambra decree of 1492 expelled the Jews. This was a result of religious intolerance, as the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella sought to establish a purely Catholic kingdom. Yet it wasn't just religious intolerance that fueled these expulsions. Economic competition played a significant role too. The Jews, often barred from traditional occupations, turned to trade and finance, creating resentment among their Christian counterparts. The political scapegoating of Jews also contributed to their expulsions. In periods of social and economic crisis, Jewish communities became an easy target, blamed for societal ills, and used as a diversion from the real issues at hand. This cyclical pattern of expulsion and return left deep scars in the Jewish diaspora. It disrupted communities, separated families, and caused immense suffering. Yet it also shaped the resilient spirit of the Jewish people, who continued to thrive despite these adversities. Furthermore, these expulsions had a profound effect on European history itself. They altered the demographic and economic landscapes of the countries involved, and their repercussions can still be felt today. These expulsions have had long-lasting impacts on the Jewish diaspora and European history. The story of expulsion is a complex tapestry woven with threads of religious intolerance, economic competition, and political scapegoating. And it's a story that continues to resonate, reminding us of the power of resilience in the face of adversity. Fast forward to the 19th century, the Jews found a home in the Ottoman Empire, but was it a safe haven? As the 19th century dawned, the Ottoman Empire, with its tradition of religious tolerance, became a refuge for Jews fleeing persecution in Europe. However, the empire was not just a sanctuary, it was also a land of opportunity. In 1914, the political party, Committee for Union and Progress, passed a law that allowed Jews to purchase land and property in Palestine. This was a significant milestone, as it offered Jews the chance to establish roots in their ancestral homeland. However, this newfound freedom gave rise to a movement that would change the course of history. Zionism, a political ideology advocating for the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine, began to gain traction. The Jews saw an opportunity to realize their dream of a homeland, but it was one that would come at a cost. In 1916, the Zionist leaders turned to Britain for support, and their plea was answered in the form of the Balfour Declaration. This infamous document, issued by the British government, expressed support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. While it was a victory for the Zionists, it was a bitter pill to swallow for the Palestinians, who feared the loss of their lands. The end of World War I brought about a new phase in the saga. Britain, reneging on promises made to the Arabs during the war, took control of Palestine. With the backing of the British, Jews from all over the world began migrating to Palestine. Labeled as settlers, they took possession of Palestinian lands, often under dubious pretexts or by outright force. The stage was set for a new chapter in the story of the Jewish people, one that would be written in the sands of Palestine. The stage was set for a new conflict, this time in the heart of the Middle East. Can a single document change the course of history? This question brings us to the heart of the Balfour Declaration, a remarkable piece of paper that set in motion a series of events, the ripples of which we continue to feel today. A product of a turbulent time, the Balfour Declaration was issued in 1917, amidst the throes of the First World War. It was in this document that Britain, for the first time, expressed its support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This public endorsement of Zionism was a significant turning point, one that would dramatically alter the landscape of the Middle East. But the Balfour Declaration was more than just a diplomatic document. It was the embodiment of Britain's imperial ambitions and strategic interests. It was a promise made without the consent of the people most affected by it, the Palestinian Arabs. In the wake of the declaration, a massive influx of Jewish settlers began making their way to the shores of Palestine. This migration was not a peaceful process. It was marked by strife and conflict, as Palestinian lands were seized under various pretexts and by force to accommodate the new arrivals. The British, who were then the colonial masters of Palestine, did little to alleviate the tensions. Their promises to the Arabs were conveniently forgotten, as they turned a blind eye to the injustices being inflicted upon the Palestinian people. The Balfour Declaration was not just a catalyst for conflict, it was a betrayal. It was a betrayal of the Palestinian people, who were promised autonomy and self-determination, only to have their lands occupied and their rights trampled upon. It was a betrayal of the principles of justice and fairness, as one group's aspirations were prioritized over another's rights. The Balfour Declaration set in motion a series of events that are still unfolding today. It is a stark reminder that the past is never truly past, and that the decisions of yesterday continue to shape the realities of today. How did prominent Muslim figures react to the situation in Palestine? One such figure who took a stand was Allama Iqbal, a revered Pakistani poet and philosopher. Iqbal was a vocal advocate for the Palestinian cause, and his views on the issue were unambiguous and resolute. Iqbal's perspective was deeply rooted in his faith and his commitment to justice, a theme that resonated throughout his poetry and speeches. During his 1931 visit to England, Iqbal seized every opportunity to voice his support for Palestine. He urged the British to uphold justice for the Palestinian people, and called for the complete abolition of the Balfour Declaration, a document that had paved the way for the displacement of Palestinians from their homeland. Iqbal's connection to Palestine was not merely academic or theoretical. He experienced the reality of the situation firsthand during a 10-day visit to Jerusalem, also known as Baitul Muqaddas, at the invitation of Mufti Amin al-Husseini. This visit further solidified his commitment to the Palestinian cause, and he continued his advocacy as the vice president of the Islamic World Conference. Through his poetry, Iqbal managed to convey the depth of his feelings towards Palestine. In his verse, he lamented the plight of Syria and Palestine, yearning for justice and peace in these lands. His poetry also reflected his fears about the reoccurrence of Palestine's history in India, a prediction that has proven eerily accurate in recent times. Iqbal's words were not just an expression of his personal views, but also a rallying cry for justice in Palestine. His poems continue to be a source of inspiration and guidance for many, highlighting the ongoing struggle of the Palestinian people. Iqbal's words continue to resonate, reminding us of the enduring struggle for justice in Palestine.